What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well on this Saturday. Got a football game starting in not terribly long here. Should be some interesting football today at the very least, so definitely check that out. But before we get there, I want to talk about Sam Darnold a little bit. I want to talk about the discourse around Sam Darnold right now because it's pretty polarized, I think. I feel like people are all over the place with Sam Darnold. I feel like there's a lot of confusion. Some people are wondering what happened to the quarterback that I watched a couple months ago. What happened to the offense that I watched a couple months ago? Is Sam Darnold the best thing for this team going forward? Can we get out of his contract? And then there are people who come down on the other side, which is no, this guy is great. This guy is fine. We're getting a great deal on him. He can do it. We're gonna be okay. So I want to try to reframe the Sam Darnold discussion from my perspective for a little bit. Before we go any further into this video, I want to tell you guys a little bit about my friends over at Sleeper. If you're not using the Sleeper app for daily fantasy football, you are missing out. Get over there. Check out the left side of your screen right now. I've got the app up. Look at all this great stuff you can get up to. Look at all the over-unders you can pick on. I've got an entry for this week. Let's take a look. I got Mike Evans over 60 yards. You know they're going to be throwing him the ball a lot. I got Keenan Allen over 36 yards. You know that he's going to want to try to cash in a little bit here against a weak Dallas defense. Jamar Chase with the anytime touchdown on Miami, and J.J. McCarthy under 189 passing yards. So get on over to Sleeper. You can put together a ticket just like this. Use the promo code SBN to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Check it out. Put together your own ticket and have some fun with sports. Back to the video. So let's talk about Sam Darnold a little bit here because the numbers have not been very good lately. The corresponding performance of the offense has been better than I think most people are giving it credit for, but still not as good as you might have expected based on earlier this season. And I think there's a little bit of panic right now around this offense. And I want to be clear, I don't have any issue with anybody who is starting to really wonder if this is the guy that we thought we had earlier in this season. Is Sam Darnold a top 10 quarterback? Is he a top 12 quarterback? Is he a top 15 quarterback? Wherever he falls, like everybody's going to fall in a slightly different place. I don't think that there's anything that I can say at this point to definitively and with firmness state that he is a top 10 quarterback. And that's what we all long for, right? I don't think any reasonable person would say that Sam Darnold needs to be a top 5 quarterback. Look at his contract. Look at the expectations that you could reasonably put on him based on his career so far. But top 10 quarterback, that seems like a reasonable goal to have. And how does he get there? Because clearly the numbers, I believe that Sam Darnold is now leading the entire NFL in turnovers for a quarterback. And I'm not somebody that cares very much about turnovers. I've talked about this before, but I will admit that they do play a part in this. And we are not a team that asks Sam Darnold to do that much. Sam Darnold does not drop back to pass 50 times a game. We don't ask him to do that kind of stuff. So the fact that he's turning it over this much on low volume is something to be distressed about as a Seahawks fan. It is. And I don't think anybody's wrong for saying that we should be getting a little bit better given how easy we make it for him, relatively speaking. So when I was thinking about this earlier today, I want to talk about Peyton Manning. And I know that sounds really weird. And I know I've had this up on screen for the last 4.5 minutes. So people are wondering, like, what does Peyton Manning have to do with any of this? Well, obviously, Peyton Manning was a quarterback defined by his numbers and his consistency and his ability to play at a very high level week after week after week, year after year after year. I mean, I can scroll down here. The numbers are absolutely unconscious. The year after year after year, leading the league in yards, leading the league in touchdowns, leading the league in completions, leading the league in success rate, 8 out of 9 years. Absolutely insanity. Absolutely filthy stuff here. But Peyton Manning was not just a collection of contextless statistics. When I think of Peyton Manning, I see that. I see the awards, All Pro, Pro Bowl, MVP, over and over and over again, falling out of bed, winning all these awards. But I also see what he did in the most important moments of games. In 1999, his first good year in the NFL, his first meaningful good year, 1999, Peyton Manning had 7 game-winning drives and 6 fourth-quarter comebacks. Pretty much every year of his career that was good, he was piling up at least 3 to 4 game-winning drives or fourth-quarter comebacks or both. 2008, he had 6. 2009, he had 7. Absolutely crazy. That is where a player like a Peyton Manning really earns his value, what he does when it matters the most. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I want to talk about Peyton Manning at the end. This is over 10 years ago now, but if you remember Peyton Manning at the end, it was really bad. He might have been the worst quarterback in the league. He went 8-2 as a starter, but he was legitimately in the conversation for worst quarterback in football. He was a turnover machine. His accuracy dipped to, really, I don't want to say replacement levels, but close. His ability to push the ball downfield was gone. It was a chore for him to get the ball more than 12 yards down the field. It was bad. It was very, very bad, and it was very sad. And as I was a fan of Peyton Manning when I was younger, it was really sad to see him in that state. He ended up getting benched, mostly because he was hurt. He had the plantar fasciitis thing, I believe. But he also got benched just because he got benched. Like, I'm not even really kidding when I say that. He got benched because he was unplayable. So it was bad. But what did he do? What did Peyton Manning do in 2015, his final year in the NFL, to not only remain relevant, but to win a Super Bowl? That's the thing to remember here. Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl this year. And I know everybody's, the initial snap reaction you have is, oh, he had a great defense. Yeah, it was a great defense. It was 4th in scoring that year, actually. It wasn't even top 3. Seattle had a better scoring defense that year. A couple other teams, I think Carolina might have had a better defense statistically as well. So it wasn't just that he had the greatest defense ever and they carried him. There was a little something else going on here. And it was, what did Peyton Manning do at the end of close games? And we just talked about the fourth-quarter comeback. We just talked about the game-winning drives. But there was even a little bit more than that. So let's go through some games here, okay? So, okay, this is just the stat sheet. But first game of the year, Baltimore Ravens. Ravens hanging right with Denver. It's a back-and-forth game going into the late part of the third quarter. Joe Flacco throws a pick 6 to give Denver a 3-point lead going into the fourth. But the game is still very much in range for Baltimore to take. And what does Peyton Manning do in the fourth quarter? He gets the ball with 14 minutes left, stages an 11-minute drive that ends in a field goal. That doesn't end the game, but keeping that Baltimore offense on the bench for 11 minutes was everything. So because of that, Baltimore does put together a little bit of a drive. They do get kind of close, but Denver wins the game. And Peyton Manning, that fourth quarter, that 11-minute drive where he just picks them apart and finds a way, that's the kind of stuff that is going to make people not pay so much attention to the fact that his numbers in that game were kind of bad. He did not play well. He threw the ball 40 times for 175 yards. That's pathetic. He took 4 sacks, a guy who almost never gets sacked. The next week, the Broncos play the Chiefs, the Andy Reid Chiefs with Alex Smith. Kansas City takes a 7-point lead with 2.5 minutes to go. Peyton's looked terrible the whole game. The game is over, right? The game is over, except Peyton Manning goes 80 yards down the field, out of nowhere, scores a touchdown with 40 seconds left, and then Denver forces a fumble, returns it for a touchdown on the next play. They steal a win they have no business having, but they got it. I mean, they won. And Peyton Manning drove them 80 yards to put them in position to win. If he doesn't do that, the defensive touchdown never even has a chance of happening. Minnesota Vikings. Another game. You go into the fourth quarter here, back and forth. Peyton Manning not playing so good. Minnesota ties it at 20 with about 5:15 left in the game. Manning goes down the field, gets them in field goal range. They kick a field goal with less than 2 minutes to go, gives them the lead, and they hold. So, again, bad game, but when they needed it the most, he came through. I go to, this was a little bit later, against the Browns, right? They're playing the Browns, a really bad Browns team. Midway through the fourth, Manning throws a pick six that looks like he's going to blow the game. And then one play later, throws a 75-yard touchdown. Maybe the only really nice deep pass he had the whole season. Gives Denver the lead back. And then later in the game, Cleveland ties it, sends the game into overtime. Yes, it's a struggle. Yes, it's a fight. Peyton Manning has several drives end in punts, has several drives even end in a pick. But at the end of overtime, gets the ball, finds a way, moves down the field, kicks the game-winning field goal with 5 minutes left in OT. Ugly, frustrating, definitely depending heavily on the defense, definitely depending heavily on the running game, but he finds his way. Somehow, some way, he finds a way to win the game. Chargers game. This is the final game of the year. This was the game where Brock Osweiler got benched because he wasn't playing well. Manning goes back in with the score being 13-7 in favor of the Chargers, and now it's on Manning's shoulders. Again, worst quarterback in the league this season. What does he do? Midway through the third quarter, game getting away from Denver, leads Denver down the field, scores a touchdown, puts them up by a point. Gets the ball back at the start of the fourth quarter, leads the team down, kicks a field goal to go up by 4 points. And then Phillip Rivers hits an 80-yard touchdown, gives at that point, San Diego the lead back. Okay. Denver gets the ball back. Peyton Manning goes down the field, kicks a game-tying field goal with 10 minutes to go. And then later in the game, the defense and the running game are able to actually put it away. But again, what does he do late in games when he absolutely has to have it? Because early in these games, pretty much every game we just talked about, he was terrible in those games. But when they needed it, when the game was still in reach, he'd come up with that touchdown drive. He'd come up with that field goal drive, and the team would just won over and over and over again. And by the way, he did it in the playoffs as well. Not a good game against Pittsburgh at all. Pittsburgh's up 13-12. They're driving. It looks like the game might be over. 10 minutes left. If Pittsburgh scores a touchdown, it feels like that's just it. Pittsburgh fumbles. Denver drives down the field, scores a touchdown, a 2-point conversion. 3 minutes left. The defense takes care of business, and there you go. So even at his absolute worst, and I know this has been really long, but I'm trying to make a point here. Even when Peyton Manning was basically incompetent for 80% of the game, he still had it when we needed it the most. And that is how Peyton Manning proved his value to that Broncos team. It wasn't because of the numbers. The numbers are terrible. He had some of the worst numbers of any quarterback in the league. I think he led the league in turnovers, even though he only played in like 10 games. But when you had to have it, you got it. And one of the things that made Seattle fans fall in love with Russell Wilson was he was another guy. He maybe wouldn't be great the whole game, but guess what? At the end of the game, when you needed it, he came through a lot. He didn't come through every time. Neither did Peyton Manning. Neither did Tom Brady. Nobody does. But over and over and over again, Russell Wilson came through. Same with Geno Smith. And I know not every Seahawks fan loves Geno Smith, but Geno Smith was the king of the fourth quarter comeback and the game-winning drive. And I look at Sam Darnold, and overall, I would say we're not there yet, right? You've got San Francisco week 1. He's got a chance to go down, score a game-winning touchdown, gets to the red zone, but ultimately fumbles, and we lose the game. Tampa Bay, not really his fault. Played a great game anyway, but gets the ball, tied game, couple minutes left, has a chance to go lead the team on a field goal drive to win. Ball bounces off a helmet, intercepted. Hard pressed to pin that on him, but it happened. Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, he let the team kick a field goal to win the game, I guess, but what do you think is going to happen with a 61-yard field goal? Like, yeah, technically you gave the team a shot and you did score that touchdown on the previous drive to keep it interesting, but I'm not so sure I can give you credit for that. So those are some pretty primo opportunities to come up big at the end of close games in against division rivals in two of those instances, by the way. Didn't do it. The only two times before the other night, the only two times Darnold came through in those situations was week 4 against Arizona and week 15 against Indianapolis. And both of those times, the degree of difficulty was low. Both of those times, Seattle got the ball around the 40-yard line. They only needed like 20, 25 yards to kick a field goal. And Darnold only really needed to complete one pass in order to get the team into range to kick. He still did it. It was still great. It was still cool. But there wasn't some sense that he was inevitable. The sense was more that it's not that hard to make one decent throw to get the team into range to kick. In that circumstance, when you get the ball in great field position, again, 20 yards and you can try a reasonable kick. And that's what he did both times. But then last night, right? You got last night, or excuse me, 2 nights ago. Sorry, my sense of time is slipping. But 2 nights ago, he hasn't really played well the whole game. That we've had problems. We've gone to overtime. We have to have the touchdown. And for the first time ever, I really felt like I saw it. A Sam Darnold that felt kind of inevitable. A Sam Darnold that was not going to be denied. 9 plays, 65 yards. And here's the thing. What I'm trying to get to is that you can have the numbers, you can have the stats, you can have the awards. The sausage gets made here at the end of close games because frequently you can't run the ball as much. Play action doesn't work as well. It's just you and straight dropbacks against the opposing defense a lot of the time. So the degree of difficulty spikes. Some guys can do it, other guys cannot. I do think there are quarterbacks out there that really struggle to get it done in these end of game close situations because everything narrows down to just it's me and my offense against them, their defense. They know I'm throwing it. I know I'm throwing it. Everybody knows. Maybe we'll run the ball a little bit, but it's not going to be that much, especially if there's not a lot of time left and I got to go perform. Now, maybe that's one mitigating factor here, right? Seattle had plenty of time here. We didn't have to worry about getting unbalanced, but still, 17 yards to JSN. He's got the, he draws the DPI on JSN a couple plays later. He's got the great throw to Cooper Kupp, amazing catch as well. He's got the check down to Charbonnet, which is only 2 yards, but that's the kind of play that you need to make against this LA team sometimes. The quick throw to Barner, and then the touchdown, and then the 2-point conversion. It felt different than anything we've seen from Darnold so far. And that's what I'm going to put on right now. And I know this video is longer than I wanted it to be. I don't like my videos being over 15 minutes. But that is something that I'm going to try to hold on to going forward here. Darnold is never going to be that guy, for us at least. And in general, I don't think you really want him to be that quarterback that's going to throw for 35 touchdowns and 5,000 yards and win MVP and win Offensive Player of the Year. He's not going to do that kind of stuff. But if he can do that kind of stuff, this kind of stuff, if he can come through in the most important moments, then we're going to be fine, right? We don't need some MVP. We don't need 40 points a game. Just go win the game at the end because this team is so good. You better believe most of the time the game will be in range for you at the end. You just have to go perform. And I say all this being very aware of the fact that, and I want to address this real quick just to make sure nobody thinks I'm trying to edit this out of history. Yeah, Sam Darnold had 3 opportunities to go win the game in regulation. 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. So by no means was everything smooth here. But at the last possible moment, we got our defining drive. And I will take defining drives to win close games over all the medals and trophies in the world. Okay, see you guys later. Go Hawks. Everybody have a good day. Have fun with football today. Probably more stuff from me coming soon, but I just wanted to talk about that for a little bit.